But first tonight, how would you like to have a bright, shiny, roadworthy collector's car you weren't allowed to drive because it's not painted the right colour? That's the ridiculous situation an Adelaide man finds himself in as he ponders his driving future from the driveway of his home. He certainly earned his stripes in dealing with bureaucratic bulldust, as Francesca Belperio found out.
Adelaide father Vladimir Ostashkovich loves shining up his 1970 Corvette Stingray. That's about all he can do with it.
I just want to drive my car.
The Adelaide car enthusiast is a fan of classic vehicles, especially when there's a story attached to them, like his Vette.
It's got a bit of history behind it because it was actually owned by Jeannie C. Riley, who's the country and western singer out of Nashville, who actually sung the Harper Valley PTA song, and she dated Elvis.
Who had a teenage daughter who attended Harper Valley Junior High.
The history behind it is just fantastic.
So after a bit of tinkering, the car was roaring and ready to go. That is until he hit an archaic and petty South Australian law, which put the brakes on his grand plans to hit the streets of Adelaide.
I took it down to Regency Park to get the roadworthy inspection, and at the end of the day, apart from a few minor issues of fixing suspension and things, the main issue is the colour of the car is not original as manufacturer, and that's the blue stripes on the car.
According to state regulations covering classic cars aged more than 30 years, vehicles must be presented in their original state before they can be registered and legally driven. But as these blue stripes and stars were custom painted after the singer bought the car, they've knocked back Vlad's application.
They said by the legislation, the left-hand drive legislation law in South Australia, and South Australia only unfortunately, that it has to be of the scheme that came from the factory unless those stripes were actually a factory option. I was more than shocked because I said, but the car is white. I haven't changed the colour of the car, it's not red, it came from the factory as white. I don't see what that's got to do with safety.
They just make things difficult for no reason at all.
Peter Hanna also experienced Regency Park's petty and trivial demands when he tried to get his 1957 Ford Fairlane retractable passed.
They actually knocked me back because the fan blade was blue, not black, and I just was stunned.
The inspectors refused to believe the car was an authentic Ford, even when Peter showed them a boot full of paperwork.
He didn't believe that this car was built off the assembly line because it's a special kind of Ford. And I had to get an engineer's report just to prove that to him.
And you just sit back and you think, how ridiculous is this law? And something needs to be done.
Classic car collector Tony Carter is also revved up about the ludicrous legislation and says it's driving car enthusiasts away.
They can't get them registered here. They're looking at buying a block of land in Victoria to get a mailing address, and they will register their cars over there at the loss of South Australia.
Rather than focus on safety, he believes the law is jeopardising it. That's why he's starting a campaign with local car clubs to change it.
A lot of cars now have got a lot older. Also, parts that are available for these cars aren't always the original ones, but we're not allowed to fit them because they're not original. I can't even put disc brakes on this car and turn it and make it as a safety upgrade as far as braking is concerned. And the argument is, oh, well, it stopped perfectly well in 1962, it'll stop perfectly well today. Well, traffic conditions are totally different to what they were back in 1962.
I would say just a little bit crazy.
They'll even fail you if you haven't got an original radio or if seatbelts are fitted on cars older than 1967 because they were not compulsory in SA at that time. Even crazier are the options Vlad's been given.
Either spending $10,000 and painting the car, which I don't have, spending $15,000 or $20,000 converting it to right-hand drive, which I don't have, which would bastardise the historic nature of the car, or I go and register it interstate.
If the other states can do it, why can't South Australia?
That's a question we put to Julie Holmes, Director of Registration and Licensing.
What we're trying to do here in South Australia is to maintain that historic authenticity of those vehicles. Things have changed. People now recognise that they want vehicles that are not identical.
What we would love to see is a left-hand drive car being treated exactly the same as a right-hand drive car. No discrimination whatsoever.
Now the Transport Department is willing to hear their case. Vlad and other classic car fans fans are hoping common sense will prevail.
It wouldn't be unreasonable for myself to put a recommendation to the Minister to say, look, we've worked together with the car clubs and we're recommending some, minor changes to those rules.
I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, and I'm hoping that with the sun still shining, that before winter comes, I can get it registered. I just want to drive my car.
Beautiful looking car. Understandable too what they say. Now, if you want to support those fighting this crazy law, go to our website for the email address, and that is todaytonightadelaide.com.au. That's todaytonightadelaide.com.au.